Hey guys, welcome to the Mr. Maple Show. I'm Matt. We're on location today at the Riverbank Zoo Gardens. Got Andy Cave, the Director of Horticulture, here with me, and we're really excited to show you around a little bit about the Riverbank Zoo Gardens.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for coming down today. What a beautiful spring day. Kind of interesting you came down today. We're about to hit the 50th anniversary of Riverbank's Zoo in about 3 weeks.
That's incredible.
And then the garden came about 20 years after the zoo, so the garden's actually hitting its 30th anniversary next year.
Believe it or not, I have family in the area. I remember when the gardens came about. I'm 42, and I've been visiting cousins here my whole life. So I remember like the big grand opening up here at the garden.
You know, and I remember coming to the zoo when I was a kid with my grandparents, you know. It's just, and I remember you guys coming out here probably close to 20 years ago, selling maples out of the back of your truck on a weekend. So
we'll be doing the garden show here.
Yeah.
Sometimes when the zoo poo was out.
Right,
yeah. Smell here when the zoo poo was out. Absolutely love this garden. It's phenomenal. There's a lot of interesting plants here. Some Japanese maples even in a good bit of sunlight. Y'all got a lot of different things that I think would catch a lot of people's interest for growing here in Columbia, South Carolina as well.
Yeah, and that's one thing, you know, when people move to Columbia or first-time gardeners and they have questions, you know, what do I do? What's going to grow here? I always recommend people come to a public garden, whether it's Riverbanks or anywhere. Just go see how they've interpreted it and see what's growing well here. Talk to the garden staff. And I'm not expecting the average homeowner to come in here and recreate this garden in their backyard on the weekend. But what I do tell people is maybe look at a set of combinations, 2 or 3, 4 plants that you really like. Maybe you can take that little piece home with you, that combination. So a lot of diverse plant material used in interesting ways. So there's just a lot going on in Columbia, South Carolina.
It's hard to beat spring here, but do you have a favorite season to visit this garden?
You know, the great thing about Columbia, South Carolina is there's pretty much always something blooming.
Right.
We don't really get that cold. You know, March through May, I think mid-March through May is a great time, even on into June. And you're going to see things every time you come. But, you know, when it's 98 degrees and the sun's beating down at you at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in July, that's probably one of my least favorite times to come. But
this garden is outstanding in any season. I think you guys are going to be shocked. I saw some fringe trees in bloom. You know it's spring when the fringe trees are in bloom. Absolutely gorgeous going on around here. A lot of these maples are just getting a peak color. The flowers are popping. I can't wait to get in the garden and show you around a little bit. Definitely come see them here. If you're traveling through Columbia or a local, I would highly recommend this gardens. I've been coming here for years, like I said, and been trying to get out here in the spring to make this happen for a while. So I think you'll like this one today, guys. Stay tuned. We'll be showing you around the Riverbank Zoo Gardens.
Hey, I'm Tim, and you might have saw this in the background of the intro video earlier. It's Acer palmatum butterfly. This tree came from us at Mr. Maple years ago. It originally got put in an animal garden they had here at the zoo. Now it's here, right here at the entrance to the Magnolia Center. This tree, super variegated, super white, growing here in Columbia, South Carolina. And this tree is really showing out here in early April. Everywhere you step in this garden, there's beautiful woody ornamentals. This here, Styrax japonicus fragrant fountain, a weeping Japanese snowbell. It has this gorgeous cascading habit, so it has this unique structure in the landscape. But this tree also will make really gorgeous bell-shaped white flowers that dangle from this tree. The bees love it, the pollinators love it, adds a lot of beauty to the garden, good fragrance, and a cool woody ornamental with unique texture and habit for the garden.
Guys, check out this outstanding Acer palmatum waterfall here in the Riverbank Zoo Gardens. You can see up into this older specimen. I have to wonder if it came from Mr. Maple. I'll have to check the records. Absolutely love this plant. Now, Veritrees describes Waterfall and Veritas as potentially the exact same plant in his private notes. I agree, I think they're the same plant. I'm gonna go with Waterfall since it's next to the water feature here at the Riverbank Zoo. Guys, outstanding plant, performing in a good bit of sun, actually full sun here at the Riverbank Zoo Gardens. Incredible to see it. Immaculate right now in the early spring. You can see up into this older specimen, all that great branching. Outstanding, love this plant. Let's check out some more of this zoo. Dude,
Matt,
check this out.
Dude, you found a Cornus officinalis.
I love Cornelian cherry dogwoods. I had to get this one on camera and talk about it for a second. This is one of my favorite ornamental plants. It's an edible and an ornamental. Cornelian cherry dogwoods, they're kind of that beacon of spring. We know when ours blooms at the garden at MrMaple that you've got, I don't know, 3 weeks before everything starts to leaf out. It's one of those first harbingers of spring. I love it. They have brilliant yellow flowers that are some of those first early spring blooms, which are great for the bees. An amazing plant. This tree looks great in fall color. It looks great in spring color. It has exfoliating bark, so you get that peeling bark. But guys, you also get the Cornelian cherries.
Yeah, I remember going visiting Barry Yinger, and he would be like, guys, y'all want some snacks? And we would go grab bags of his Cornelian cherries for the road. You just collect them, and they're just sweet. They're amazing. They are an amazing edible ornamental tree to add to the garden with that neat bark, good fall color, good blooms, and a sweet treat for you when you visit your garden.
I had to get this on camera. One of my favorite woody ornamentals. Man, let's go see what else is going on in this garden. There are so many things going on around here. All right, this looks like a cool pair. And what do we got going on over here, bro?
I never would have thought to pair these two together. We got Juniper rigida, all gold down here. That is a Juniper low spreading yellow. You know I love the color yellow, adding it in the garden. And this does it in a nice evergreen format. It's almost a nice ground cover to put out there in the landscape. You can put this out next to a Japanese maple, have some good red color contrast. But they did a unique pairing here with Ilex Solar Flare. This was a sport found in North Carolina and introduced to North Carolina as a variegated ilex. This thing puts on a show all throughout the season, and it's cool to have two different shades of yellow right here playing off each other.
Absolutely incredible. I don't think you're supposed to be over there. I'm telling on them. Let's go.
Guys, this must be the yellow garden. As soon as I turned the corner, I saw this Cypress obtusa nightlight. selection from the Southern Living Plant Collection. Has a nice compact habit, but as you can see, it brightens up the garden. It's heat tolerant, it's doing well down here in Columbia, South Carolina. As you can see here, there's a nice wall behind here, brick wall, probably radiates some heat. It's not cold down here in Columbia, and this tree's doing so well out here in the garden, giving some good yellow color. Awesome tree to put out here in this more yellow garden. I kind of like this yellow garden. We just saw some amazing yellow conifers paired with hollies, and now we got a yellow cypress nightlight lighting up the garden.
All right, y'all, we've been blessed to do a lot of business with the Riverbank Zoo over the years. I love coming here. I've been coming here since I was a kid. You heard me mention that with Andy. And so we got a lot of great connections here. Because of that, you'll see some crazy plants you might not see a lot of other places. This one's in a ton of shade back here, but this is an Acer palmatum Golden Falls weeping down below this container here in Columbia, South Carolina. It's got a little lattice going on over it to give it some protection here. Absolutely outstanding yellow form of Ryusin. You've seen us offer this one on MrMaple. I love seeing it out in the wild here at the Riverbank Zoo. So cool to see our own plants showing up here in these gardens. The kid in me is excited just to see this out here, this location. Let's go around, check out some other plants, and maybe some of the zoo later too, I don't know. All right, guys, check out these Elysium parviflorum Florida Sunshine. They really stand out in a warmer climate like this down here in Columbia, South Carolina. They've got them tucked in a little bit of shade, but look at these shrubs. They're like small trees right now. They look outstanding, and they're highlighter yellow here in the garden. It really gives a lot of play for the garden, but it also brings the eyes up, ties all the other colors together. Absolutely love seeing specimens like these out here. Florida Sunshine, one we bring back quite frequently to MrMaple. We do list it as zone 7 up typically. Outstanding plant. They love this dry, warm climate like Columbia, South Carolina though. Grab you one today.
Y'all, right here, I've got Rhododendron canescens. It's a native mountain azalea, actually native to many coastal and Piedmont regions. This thing is super heat tolerant, good in zones 5 through 9, great for pollinators, and this thing lights up the spring landscape. It's got these gorgeous pink-white blooms. The actual pistils of the stamens that pop out, they're pink. Behind the bloom itself is pink, giving the overall appearance of a light pink on the blooms of Rhododendron canescens. 6 foot by 10 foot in 10 years. Give this thing good drainage, but this is a beautiful tree to put out there. The bees love it, the pollinators love it, and you're gonna love it because this thing is beautiful.
All right, guys, cool tree here I had to show real quick in the woodland garden. Acer palmatum Shadari. Brings back a little bit of nostalgic vibes because I know this one was grafted by our dad, Norman Nichols, and sold here to the Riverbank Zoo. Crikey, guys. I'm out here in the zoo. I got to do my best Steve Irwin. Maybe we'll come out with some accents. Grandma Ghost here in the gardens, guys. Love seeing Buckholz introductions out here in the wild. This one's in some filtered light, absolutely killing it down here in the Riverbank Zoo Gardens in Columbia, South Carolina. If people say Columbia is too hot to grow maples, tell them to get out to the Riverbank Zoo Garden and check it out, guys. This Grandma Ghost absolutely showing out. Great shape, reticulation on full display right now in the early spring. This thing is kind of in the edge of one of these small woodland gardens, absolutely brightening up this spot, showing it out. Light hitting this thing and it absolutely glows. Grab you a Grandma Ghost. They're absolutely phenomenal plants, and nice looking specimen right here as well. Absolutely love it.
Right here, we've got a Pinus thunbergii thunderhead. We love how heat tolerant these pines are to do so well in such a hot zone like Columbia, South Carolina. It gives a nice evergreen interest, long green needles, and it gives us a unique feel out there in the landscape. It can be put so many places out in the garden, but the fact is that this tree is extremely heat tolerant, and if you're looking for a conifer for the south, you're looking for a conifer that's going to do well in high heat, thunderhead or any of the Pinus thunbergii are excellent selections for you to try to grow. This tree rocking it down here at the Riverbank Zoo. Guys, the sweet aroma in this part of the garden is right now being put on by this rhododendron austrynum. That's the Florida flame azalea. This is one of my favorite azaleas because it gets established so well out there in the landscape of many of the other native azaleas. It's got a gorgeous yellow-orange bloom out here in the landscape, brightening up this spot in the garden. But this tree is vigorous, great for pollinators, smells wonderfully out here, adding that extra dimension in the garden, appealing to your sensory of smell. And this thing is just rocking out here. It's extremely beautiful out here, and man, rhododendron austrynum, one of my favorite native azaleas.
All right, Amy's gonna be jealous. I'm here at the Riverbank Zoo checking out this Acer olivieranum hot blonde. Now, if you hadn't heard us mention it, one of the best features about hot blonde is that this thing leaves out late. We actually think it's a hybrid with Acer shirosalodum, giving it some later time to leaf. This one will fool you when it first leaves out. It's kind of an olive drab with red new growth, but as it gets into full leaf, this one's gonna brighten the show up here with some bright yellow. They've gotten a heavy sunny spot here in Columbia, South Carolina. I can't wait to see this tree later in the season.
Y'all, behind me are two gorgeous specimens of Acer palmatum bihu, one of the yellow bark Japanese maples. These things, during the winter months, the bark is a bright, bright yellow. These trees have some gorgeous green leaves on them right now. In the fall, they'll be going to yellow with the yellow leaves and yellow bark. It gets outrageous. I mean, seeing two large specimens of this size, you rarely see bihu of this size. It's a newer introduction in the United States from Japan, about 2008, 2010. These are some of the first to get planted out. Amazing specimens of Acer palmatum bihu. If you want to talk about conifers for the South, look no further than the Cryptomeria japonica. The Japanese Cryptomeria are notoriously very heat tolerant. Our good friend Tom Cox, who wrote Landscapes with Conifers and Ginkgos for the South, wrote about Cryptomeria japonica and had one of the largest collections in the Southeast. This is Cryptomeria japonica Gyoku Ryu. This thing makes a nice pyramidal form, gives a dark evergreen interest, and is an evergreen to put out in the landscape in these hotter zones that performs very well. Give it some protection from the hot afternoon sun. The unique thing about the Cryptomeria japonica is they can actually handle a little more shade than many of the other conifers and more heat, making them an excellent tree for the southern garden. Right here, we've got Ginkgo biloba chichi. This thing is pretty unique. This one's just now starting to get the very bulbous-like growth that comes off of the bark. Being a ginkgo, this tree has some phenomenal yellow fall color, but chichi actually has a phenomenal shape as well. I mean, this thing has this nice rounded form, and when this thing goes to yellow fall color, it's electric. Ginkgos are salt tolerant, pollution tolerant, drought tolerant, and heat tolerant. That means they're gonna do perfect down here in Columbia, South Carolina, in full sun, thrive and do well, give you unique winter interest with that bulbous growth on the bark itself, phenomenal fall color. Ginkgos, they're just a well-rounded tree.
All right, right here in the middle of the garden, we've got the sound of falling water all around us. There is a pair of beautiful Taxodium dissecum falling waters. Now, this is an incredible weeping bald cypress, named for the Frank Lloyd Wright home. That's where it gets the name. Architecturally, this one's incredible, whether it's in leaf or out of leaf. This one's gonna work zones 4 through zones 9. Can handle a wetter spot in the garden. I love the Taxodiums for that. They soak up the sun here, even in Columbia, South Carolina. Eats it up, spits it out, doesn't care at all about it. Gets you a bald cypress. They're tough as nails. This one doesn't develop essential leaders, so it has to be staked a little bit when it's younger, but you're gonna absolutely love Taxodium, the bald cypress, fallen waters.
Down low, we've got juniper all gold again, but up top, we've got Taxodium, Peve Minaret. Peve Minaret is a selection by Piet Vergelder of a bald cypress that has a really tough appearance. It's a more miniature, slower growing bald cypress, but it looks fuller and denser. It's got a good evergreen color, but it is a deciduous conifer, so it will drop its needles during the winter months. An amazing tree. I love the bald cypresses because they can go in wetter spots in the garden. It doesn't have to be wet to grow in the garden though, like here in Columbia, South Carolina. This one's just growing in the regular space in the garden, thriving and doing well in a high heat setting. Bald cypress is easy to grow, easy to maintain, and these things add a unique interest in the garden.
All right, guys, I'm back behind the scenes with one of my favorite flowering plants. This is Conifers retussus. It's a Chinese flower and dogwood. Absolutely stealing the show back here right now. This one's gonna work zones 5 through 9. We're in Columbia, South Carolina. They're exceptionally heat tolerant. It's a great alternative to a dogwood for full sun in this area. I love the exfoliating bark on these, but in early spring, they own the show right now. Absolutely incredible when they light up with this bright white flower to them. Check out Conifers retussus. All right, y'all, that's our video on the Riverbank Zoo and Gardens. That's a big and. It's doing a lot of work in that sentence. I love the gardens at the Riverbank Zoo.
We touched on the woody ornamentals. They've got amazing perennials here too. So many cool plants. We used to come here as a kid, so it's a special place in my heart to come back and visit. We used to come sell at the Riverbank Zoo. They have some events here in the springtime in the garden. Man, some great memories in this garden. But the plants here, seeing how they've matured, it's pretty spectacular.
Absolutely outstanding place. If you're in the Columbia area, make sure to come check out the Riverbank Zoo and Garden. Special thanks to Andy Cabe. Take care.
God bless.
And have a great day.
Oh yeah. Where was that, Hawaii?